Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I figured and I thought about and I thought on and I thought about, and it's like, well, that could be good in some ways and bad in other ways. So I'm going to give you one time, and it might be your last time to try to stump the pastor if you're so inclined. Anybody have a question that you would like an answer to biblically speaking? No. That was a quick answer. That was a quick answer. So see how easy that one was? See, I'm giving you your chance. Yes. Well, it entails that the Bible talks about us having, and the question was, are we made in the likeness of God? And the Bible says we're made in His image and in His likeness. And a lot of people say, well, that means that God has a head and a neck and arms and legs and feet and toes and hands and fingers and all that stuff. And it does talk about God's feet being, they're resting on the footstool, meaning clouds, and talks about God's hands and God's finger writing on the wall, the meeny, meeny, tinkle, you farson, which meant you've been weighed in the balance and found wanting and all that. But it means we're created spiritual beings because God is spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and truth. So we have a spirit. The spirit and soul are what lives for eternity. The flesh doesn't. And we all know that. We're going to have a glorified body one day. We get to trade all the hurts and the bumps and the bruises and the sore things in. And I don't know how big we're going to be. That was another question we've pondered over the years. Are we going to be 5'10" if you're 5'10"? Are you going to be 6'3" if you're 6'3"? Are you going to be 4'11" if you're 4'11"? I don't think so, but I don't know. Are we going to be, a little speck to kind of around in heaven? I don't know. So, but we are created in His likeness, and so that's why we need to try to live in holiness as God is holy. Yes, sir.
Half hour in heaven in which there's quietness, nothing.
Yeah. That means that the girls are going to have to be quiet for half an hour. Give me just a second. Yeah. That's what I've always said, and that's bad, but I always have said it tongue in cheek, of course. It's never been a a real thought that way. So give me just a second while I cheat, which I never could do back in the day, but I'd like to do it now and give you the. Unless you want to tell me, oh, here it is. Quit, stop, cancel. It would be Revelation 8 and verse 1. If you've all already turned there. Some of you guys already have that underlined. You showed your wife and you said, now see, you're really going to be quiet one day. I know some of you. I know. So what's going to happen here? And what it says, and when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. So what's going on here? The seven angels are sounding with the seven trumpets, and the things that were about to happen were so terrible that there was silence. People just were so terrified, or people, the spirits and the people here were so terrified that they couldn't even make a sound because they knew that the impending doom or the impending trumpets that were going to sound were so horrific. And that's, like some people, when you get really scared, you can't utter a sound. And that's kind of what I would say with that, Brother Tyler, right or wrong. That would be my read on it. Because as it says in verse 7, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. The second angel sounded, and it, as it were a great mountain burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures that were in the sea that had life died, and the third part of ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. And the name of the star was called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. So basically, what that angel here in verse 13 is saying is the worst is yet to come. You think these first four were bad, man, you just wait till the next three come. So I think that's what that silence really was. I think it was silence because of the impending doom that was coming, the terrific or horrific things that were going to happen. That help? I mean, not help, but did I explain a little bit from at least my point of view? Yes, sir.
How big could you describe the throne of God?
Yeah. I would hate to even attempt to describe God's throne, quite honestly. Um, it's, I mean, huge. If he's sitting on his throne and the clouds are his footstool, I mean, it has to be pretty huge. But to try to describe it, I never have thought about it. Do you have an opinion on it? Yeah. Well, yeah, and when we think about it, man, we try to put God in a, for lack of a better word, we put him in a box because all we can do is equate God with things we're used to seeing. It would be kind of like, um, trying to think of any kind of comparison. Like a lake that's close to where you grew up. Comparing that to the Atlantic Ocean or comparing that to the Pacific Ocean. Unless you've been on a boat going across the Atlantic Ocean and you realize it takes 10 days in a U.S. Navy destroyer to go from the East Coast till you get to Spain. 10 days, and that's solid moving the whole time. We just can't fathom the enormity of God. And the part with God that really makes me awestruck is that, and I don't understand quite how he does it, but he hears our prayers. As everybody around the world that's a believer is praying, God hears those prayers. And specifically can answer those prayers of how many millions of people. That's what really leaves me in amazement. It's how big God is in that sense, and how little we are, comparatively speaking. And you hear people saying, well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to talk to God, or he's like, God is going to give an account to some little peon. It just boggles my mind how anybody could even think something so ludicrous that God would be held in account to us in any way. But he is moved by what hurts us and what concerns us. That's the stuff with me. But yeah, I'm sure, try to, how big is God's throne kind of thing. But yes, I mean, with all the multitudes that are around it, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Keith. Uh-huh. Hmm. Yes. I turn there. I'm looking for it. Yeah. Yeah, that 21:1 is where it starts. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. He will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Now, and just kind of a sideline, that verse 4 of Revelation 21, because you hear people say, well, in heaven there are no tears. What does Revelation 21 verse 4 say? Yeah. So when you hear somebody say, well, boy, I'm glad in heaven there are no tears, that's not really a biblical statement. Because according to this, there are until he wipes them away. But when he does, when he wipes them away from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. So I'm assuming there'll be pain up until that time. Yeah, normally. Some people cry for joy, tears of joy, but yeah, normally. So as far as the new heaven and the new earth, could it be a sphere like we're living on now? I mean, it could be. I don't know that I would ever say it was an upside down triangle or, anything in that kind of dimensions, like a pyramid taken and hung in space with the, upside down. Have I heard people say that? Yeah. And I've heard people say, like, the New Jerusalem is a box, um, 12,000 by 12,000 by 12,000 by 12,000 kind of thing. And you hear all kind of things, but I don't really know. The only thing I do know is, man, this isn't going to be really politically correct. The tree huggers are hugging trees to no avail, because this old world is going to be gone, and we're going to have a new heaven and a new earth. No, I'm not saying we shouldn't try to do our part to be the ecologically sound, or try to do our best to not abuse things. But no matter what we do, it's all going to be gone one day. Now, when it says in verse 10, he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God in her light, was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Now that's given us a picture of the New Jerusalem, which is going to be 14 to 1,500 miles around on every side in every direction. And we can see that, and they measured the walls thereof, and they're going to be approximately 216 feet in the depth, and they're going to be clear. They're going to be kind of see-through, but then they have all the stones, as it's talking about after that, and it's going to have the temple there. The Lord is the temple in the eternal state, so it's going to have all the things that the Old Testament that God had for his people. God is going to be that. There's not going to be anything left out, but God's going to be that for us. But as far as the shape, I have heard what you're saying, but I really don't. I don't know. It doesn't say. So I've always tried, if the Bible doesn't speak, I try not to speak. If the Bible's clear, I try to be clear. So that's kind of what I've tried to practice over the years, except when I was a lot younger, and you're in the student lounge and you're debating different things, and then you talk about how many angels are on the head of a needle and all that other dumb stuff that you can get into at that point in time. Wayne? I think the significance would represent the tribes of Israel, or it could be the 12 sons, which would be the 12 tribes, 12 apostles. 12 is a significant number throughout the Bible. So that would be kind of my take on it.
We put a light through it. It's the only 12 stones that will shine that type of light.
See, you're the gemologist. You would know that.
That's kind of why he put all of those stones together, because that could be part of the New Jerusalem. Comes up and hits those stones, what are we going to say?
Yeah, cool.
Now.
No. Christ is the Son. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you knew I was kind of. Okay. Yeah, because there's not going to be a sun and a moon and no darkness, because Christ is the light. But yes, they'll reflect his light. I still think we'll have that type of, yes, absolutely. Oh man, it's going to be so much better. Imagine the most beautiful sunset or sunrise, or the most beautiful thing you've ever seen at any time, anywhere. Heaven's going to be so much more. When Paul was stoned and died, and then in 2 Corinthians he talks about a man that he knew about 14 years ago, whether in the Spirit or out of the Spirit, he cannot say, but he was shown things. I think that God took him and pulled back a little veil and let him see heaven just a little bit and sent him back to earth. Now, this is Morrisology. So, and I think when he did that, that's what helped Paul be so bold and brazen. And he said, for me to live is Christ, but to die is gain, because he had a little taste. And you say, well, why doesn't God do that for everybody? Because I don't think we could handle it. I don't think we could handle all that heaven is in our bodies and in our, who we are now. I really don't think we could. Yeah, that would probably be the case for some. They would even believe it. They're like, who gave me those drugs? Who put that stuff in my coffee? I mean, what in the world am I on? Yeah, must be tripping on something. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and I know you can't see the words, but you can see the real bright yellow, gold highlighting. That right there is verse 23, where it says that. Yeah. Yeah, because heaven has always been a really neat thing for me and should be for you too. Not that we have to be there right this instant, but to know that that's a home, because Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will doubtless come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, ye may be also. And that is such a neat thought there, John 14. I mean, such a great portion of Scripture for us. When you get feeling down, when you get discouraged, when you think everybody's against you, when you think nothing is going right, just go to John 14 and read the first 3 or 4 verses, or 5, or read the whole chapter. I mean, and take solace in the fact that he's coming back. It's not just hearsay. It's not a rumor. It's a fact. It's going to happen. Oh, good Lord.
Chapter 21, verse 5, where it says, He sat on the throne and said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said, can't get this out. And he said unto me, write these words that are true and faithful. I should have read verse 4. Anyway, he wipes away all the tears, all things are new.
Yeah.
You feel like he erases our mind so that we don't think about this, any of this business.
I think
all things are new.
Yeah.
well, if you read verse 15 of chapter 20, and we're all there for that. And it says, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. And that's not something done in secret, behind closed doors. Everybody in eternity is seeing this going on. And then you got 4 verses later, he's wiping away tears and sorrow and crying and pain and former things. And I've said that for the past 35, 40 years, that I believe he erases all memory of loved ones that didn't get saved, that were cast into the lake of fire. Because if you are in heaven and you had those memories and thoughts of brothers, sisters, parents, friends, people being cast by the angels off into the lake of fire, that would cause you grief. And some people say, oh no, you'd just be so happy to be in heaven. Yeah, I don't buy that. I think it would cause you pain.
That's the reason why they're crying in heaven.
Yeah.
Because we see who's getting cast in the lake of fire, and it brings sorrow and tears to us to know who they are.
Yeah. Well, that's my theory. I think so too. And I think that's why when God does that, He does take the memory of those things, those people that missed the mark. Like I say, my favorite uncle, definitely he believed that the ground was it. Once you get the grave, that was it. You're done. And he was a really good guy, but he gave absolutely no inclination that he believed in God or was saved or even anything that's in that way. So that would be sad. Yes, sir.
Could you explain a little bit why so many people are so bound up with their animals that they think their animals are going to be with them in heaven?
I think that's a human desire. We have, and God gives us love, but it's not God's type of love. He gives us a love for our pets, and many people, pets are not pets, they're family.
Yeah.
And so when they're family, we tend to think more highly of them, because I don't remember one pet cemetery when I was growing up.
I don't either.
But there are a bunch of them now. There are, and I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just stating things that I've observed. People take their pets to the dentist, to the doctor, to get cataracts taken off their eyes. Yeah, we go to doggy daycare all the time. Dog camp, okay. Dog camp. It's different, okay. Trish is a lover of pets, but to her, they're family. And I don't know why, but I guess it's out of that desire that people have that love for their pets that they assume. But you've got, again, for me, I've not seen any Bible proof that pets go to heaven. Matter of fact, I find just the opposite. Because pets do not have what you call a frontal lobe, which is that part of us that we do our planning and all that stuff from. God did not breathe into the nostrils of animals and make them a living soul. So, therefore, all dogs don't go to heaven, no matter what Walt Disney or whoever it was thinks. Right. Yes. But what I equate, we're tripartite beings, and you all probably realize that we're tripartite beings. And a tripartite being just basically means three parts. We're body, soul, spirit. Just like with God, you've got God the Father, God the Word, God the Holy Spirit. Three parts, one God. We're three parts, one body. Our body, of course, is this, that'll go ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's what I say partly when I do an interment. Then you have your spirit, and that's kind of, I equate that with your personality, who you are, because we're all a little different. Some of us are stoic, some of us are really, vivacious and outgoing, and just, some are bombastic. And then our soul, and that's what lives for eternity. So animals don't have that third part. There's no soul that's going to live for eternity. No matter how much you like your horse, no matter how much you like your rabbit or your cat or your guinea pig or whatever it might be, they just don't. What, honey? Uh-huh. I don't think they make it, babe. Now, her answer to horses, well, don't they come back on horses when the Lord comes back, on a white horse kind of thing? Yeah, but they're probably special made already in heaven kind of thing rather than. Yeah. So, but why they do it, I think it's another way of taking people's mind off of where it should be and putting it on something else. So that's probably where you were looking for. Brother Tyler. That last little snippet there it just detracts us. It distracts us from where our mind should be. Keith? Okay.
Speaking of animals, she's got family members and she was told, from family members, that when it comes to the ark, Noah's Ark, that all the animals on the ark were the size of a dog.
Huh?
A large dog. In order to fit all the animals on Noah's Ark, and I've heard it from other people too. They believe that all the animals were the size of a large ark. Sorry, a large dog.
Yeah. How far is this from Mississippi to Kentucky? Okay, Colorado to Kentucky? Yeah. Yeah, because, when we saw that, yes, the only thing you have to keep in mind, man, even well-intended, okay, with well-intentions, without a doubt, we are constantly, not us in this room necessarily, but I'm talking mankind, trying to fit God into our understanding. And we're trying to cut the miracles down to our understanding or our ability to comprehend. Like, oh, come on, cast a mountain into the sea if you have the faith of a mustard seed. Yeah, surely he just means like a bucket of dirt. To do that. No, I believe it was all the size that they are. Except, of course, the unicorns, because they were off playing and they forgot to get on the ark, that kind of thing. No, I'm just, of course, kidding. But no, and there's nowhere in the Bible that it shows anything like that. And how many of each kind got on the ark? 9 of each kind. That's why I pulled that one. I wondered who would say 2 right away. I did that on purpose. I wanted to get you. Yeah, it was 9. 2 and 7 of each kind. So now, put those on there. And the food. For all that time. And if you're saying, man, how could that happen? Go see the Ark Encounter. It's pretty cool.
Farm. You're going to use younger animals and you're going to go from there. You're going to use the good stock. And some of the dinosaurs could have been just inches long that grow. That type of animal just keeps growing. A lot of the dinosaurs would start out small and they would grow to larger sizes according to the fossil records and whatnot.
Okay.
You're going to have 10 different kinds, 20 different kinds of dogs in there.
No.
You're just going to have a dog kind. A lot of people think of that. And, there's going to be 50 different kinds of cows and all this.
It would have been all the kind that would have been alive at that time, which by that time, there would have been, in my opinion, and I'm sticking to it, no dinosaurs. There were no dinosaurs on the ark. Now, that's my opinion. If you think there were, hang on to it. Doesn't bother me a bit. If it's important at all, God will straighten us out in heaven. But I just don't think there were any around to be put up on the ark. This big, that big, or any size. I just don't. I see that hand.
Ed, you're bracing in on the chair.
But I always tell people when they ask me something like that, so, it's not like Moses was up Moses. It's not like Noah was out measuring them and stuff like that. God sent them.
Correct.
So if he had the design of the ark, he knew how big of the animals he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He sent the right size.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I knew that. That's what I was going to say.
But yeah, but I mean, these are good things, though, guys, to ponder, to talk about, when you're sitting down and with friends. I mean, just good Bible stuff to talk about. But be careful in all of it. Don't get upset about any of it, except if they try to tell you Christ isn't the only way to heaven. Those kind of things. I mean, there are some things like some of the stuff we're talking about, like was it a pyramid kind of shape upside down or what? I mean, who know? I don't know. So don't let that get you riled up because the Bible doesn't say. But I would kind of say that, and could they have been all the size of dogs, mastiffs, or are we talking little dachshunds or something? You know? Huh? Yeah, German shepherds. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't say because I guess God didn't think it was necessarily important. But Ed is right. God sent them. I mean, they just kind of traipsed straight on up and did, because I would think some of them, I can't imagine the lions or tigers or whatever would be, they might have been hungry and wanted to eat one of those 8 people saved by, that were saved by water. The Church of Christ tries to teach that that's baptism, and they're just as lame as the day is long. But anyway. I was going to say they had big aquariums on the ark. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, seriously, guys, if you ever get a chance, that Ark encounter there in Kentucky is pretty cool because you don't even think about where they store the food and how did they store it and what kind of system did they have for feeding them and stuff. They went to great lengths to develop that, and you can just walk through and look at it and like, wow, that is so cool. Oh yeah, try to spend more. Yeah, spend a few days if you can, at least a couple. Or if you're like Trish and I with a husband that's OCD, you only get to spend the best part of whatever day you get there. And then you're on the road again.
All the animals on the ark slept the full time, so that way Noah didn't have to have all the food in order to feed them, because they were in hibernation the whole time that they were on the earth.
When you actually go into that Ark encounter, they show how they could have fed all those animals that long. It's amazing.
Yeah, and we try to into human reasoning. And if you ever shoveled out a dairy barn, there would have been a lot of, to clean up. Yeah, conveyor belt, just drop that and just go, no. Yes, sir.
Can you explain for us what the fermentation process is?
Fermentation? Oh, Brother Tyler. Well, you gotta have some yeast. Cause I'm asking. Cause just like my gemologist here, I'm not a. You can get yeast out of the air? Oh. And that would help me out. Where are we going?
Is alcohol. That's the basis.
Or wine.
Well, it's still alcohol.
Okay. Yeah.
So it has to be rottenness.
It's corrupt. Whatever yeast does. Yeah.
It's a poop product. You really want to get down to it.
Yeast is a food product?
Poop.
Oh. Hey. Okay, let's not digress anymore. Yeah, it's going south back, yeah.
But so I mean, and for the longest time, I would tell people, anytime I talk about wine in the Bible, that was grape juice. Anytime I talk about wine, that was grape juice. Yeah, now that I'm old, I'm not so convinced that every time I talk about wine, it was grape juice. I'm not really convinced. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they put new wine in old skins and it would burst them somehow. See, I don't even get the whole process. I don't pay attention to a lot of stuff that you guys and gals have thought about, I'm sure. But there are things I do know that maybe you haven't thought about too. So I mean, we help each other. Iron sharpens iron. That's what happens with that. So, any other last thoughts before we let you go 5 minutes early? And I was gonna go through Jude and just give you about 7 points, breaking Jude apart. That's what I was gonna do. So I had that. I was prepared. But I think us talking about some things was even a little better. And it was 5 points: the preamble, the problem, the pride, the prediction, and the provisions in Jude. Save that for another day. So, anybody want to share a blessing for us to exit post haste or exit stage left on? I see a hand back there, Ed.
It was at 40.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's doing,
Wow.
even though it went up a little bit, that's really good news.
Amen.
Very good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. And instead of just one blessing, I see a hand from my purple girl back there. Yes, Abigail.
I woke up today and I went to lunch with Miss Naomi's and Miss Desiree.
Yes, you did.
It was very fun. And
You
we
had
were
2
there.
lunches?
No, just one lunch. But I woke up today and I'm so glad I woke up today because I get to have today.
That's right. And don't forget, you're supposed to say you have the best dad in the world.
The best dad in the world.
There you go. Okay, good girl. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your love and your mercy. Thank you for each and everyone here. Pray give us a good week. Help us to be found busy for you should you return. We just love you and commit the week to you.